The Friday Five future headlines and Trey Wallace coming up on this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered, powered by Locked On.
You are Locked On College Football Smothered and Covered with your host, Barrett Sallee. Your one-stop shop for everything college football. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome in. It is College Football Smothered and Covered. It is a Friday feast, if you will, here on the show. Thank you for making this your first listen every single day. We, of course, are available wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You know what to do. If you are listening or watching, you know how to do the podcast thing. Of course, we are powered by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. In today's episode, brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Go to the Gametime app, create an account, and use Locked On College. That is Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. I'm not Ray Lewis. I'm not. I know that disappoints all of you. But what I am, I'm going to make some picks. And let me tell you, it's really hard to be bad at picking points, picking games against the spread and picking over-unders. It's really hard. I make it extremely hard, apparently, because the Friday Five last week went 0-5 against the spread. And no, we're not keeping straight up. We're only keeping against the spread records because I am going to pick over-unders instead of game lines at times. But 0-5. Fade me. Fade me very, very hard. So here's your chance. Here's what I think is going to happen this week. And you should think the exact opposite. Clearly, evidence shows. But Tennessee, -10 against NC State and Charlotte. We're going to take the Vols. We're going to lay those points. And there are two reasons. One, I don't trust Grayson McCall, the NC State quarterback. I think his reputation was built off that COVID year. And personally, he's too streaky for me. It's hard to trust a guy who can just go on these slow streaks and completely put a game out of reach. And going against Nico Iamaleava, you don't want to get into a shootout. And that offense looked pretty brutal last week against Western Carolina. So give me the Vols. I'll lay the 10. And what's interesting about this game is if you look at trends, and of course, trends are always your friend. This game has gone from Tennessee -6.5 to Tennessee double digits. At one point, it was 10.5 in a matter of 36 hours. You know what that means? It means somebody knows something. Somebody out there knows something that not a lot of us know. What that is, I don't know. But a game does not move that much without something very significant happening behind the scenes. And I don't think it's moved enough. Because if it's gone this far, you might as well keep moving it before game time. Gametime also sponsors this show. Different kind of Gametime, but you know what I mean. So give me the Vols. I was going to pick Tennessee anyway, because I think with Nico getting into a shootout with Grayson McCall, Nico's going to win that 10 times out of 10. I love Dylan Sampson. I think Tennessee's offensive line has been fantastic, and NC State cannot block the front seven for Tennessee. Now, yes, Tennessee has some questions. I mean, you didn't really answer them against Chattanooga, so there are some questions maybe in the secondary. I don't care. Take the Vols, lay the points. You will be just fine. Now, if you listen to the show all week, you know I like Texas against Michigan. I think Texas is head and shoulders above Michigan in terms of offensive prowess. I do agree with Jake Crane when he was on our show a couple days ago saying that Michigan is going to try to shorten the game. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to. Quinn Ewers is going to have success, a ton of it. Michigan's going to have to take some risks offensively. A couple of them are going to hit. So that means over 42.5 is the play. Because 42.5 is not a lot. It's not a lot at all. This game's not going to be played in the teens. It's going to be Texas's style. Styles make fights. And so you're going to see a little bit more of an offensive explosion. And if you're listening and not watching, air quotes are on explosion, because 42.5 points isn't exactly an intriguing game. Might be in the NFL, not here in college football, thank goodness. So I'll take the over in that one. Another over, and I cannot believe I'm doing this. I can't believe it. I cannot believe I'm doing this. But I'm going to pick over in an Iowa football game. A real, honest-to-God Iowa football game. And it's the Cy-Hawk Trophy. Iowa State and Iowa. One of the fiercest and also one of the most bizarre at times rivalries in our sport. Plus, it's 35.5. 35.5 after Iowa itself scored 40 last week. 40 real, honest-to-God American football points by the Iowa Hawkeyes. And I love Becht at quarterback. Rocco Becht for Iowa State. Really good player. If you haven't watched him, go take a look at some film. He can ball out. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to say it again. I'm going to take a deep breath. The words are going to come out of my mouth. Iowa State over 35.5. Lock it in. I can't believe I did that. All right. Game number 4, South Carolina at Kentucky. Kentucky -9. Look, I think Lenore Sellers didn't show us anything for South Carolina last week. You don't struggle with Old Dominion unless you have some serious problems offensively. South Carolina does. And Kentucky was flat out awesome in 2 quarters plus change before the game got suspended or canceled or whatever it was. It ended. Kentucky's sneaky, folks. Brock Vandagriff, I've been a fan of Brock Vandagriff for a very long time. If you watch this show over the last couple of months, you know that I think Brock Vandagriff can be one of those guys who comes out of nowhere to be that first round-ish type pick this year. I truly believe that he has that in him. And he's got receivers all over the place. And he's got a good defense, especially in that front 7. So you mix all of that together, including playing at Kroger Field, and I cash a Kentucky ticket with a double-digit win, with a 10-point win. I'm in. All day, all night, all evening long. Thank you very much, Kilo Ali. It's the Kilo Ali pick of the week. Kentucky -9 at home against South Carolina. Last one, and it's my wild card on Outkick and the picks that Trey Wallace and I have, and you're going to hear from Trey Wallace here coming up. I am all, until somebody convinces me not to ride with UCF, I am riding with UCF as long as possible. RJ Harvey is fantastic. Kobe Hudson's awesome. Can stretch the field. KJ Jefferson actually didn't do an awful lot last week, and they still boat raced New Hampshire. Now, I know it's New Hampshire, but still, you know KJ Jefferson will get going through the air. Always on the ground. We know that. 21.5 against Sam Houston. I'm in. I kind of like that one. Kind of like that one a lot. I like it a lot. Give me the Knights. It's a lot of points to lay. A 3-touchdown win. Loses in Vegas, but I think it'll be a 4-touchdown game. I think it'll be a 4-touchdown game in Orlando. We will take a break. We'll travel out to Lincoln, Nebraska. My Outkick colleague, Trey Wallace, is out there covering the game. This is, of course, college football smothered and covered, and we are powered by Locked On. Show brought to you by LinkedIn. It's not just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job. You might just open for a perfect role, so they'll check you out in a given month. Over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get qualified for a candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals just like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. And you can post your job for free. Terms and conditions, of course, they always and forever. Joined now by my colleague from Outkick. He made it all the way to Lincoln, Nebraska Thursday, sort of, almost. Yeah, you did actually, through some travel issues. I'm glad you made it, Trey. You made it there.
I mean, I got here, brother. It was, I knew once the layover said Chicago, I was like, yep, I'm screwed. All right, cool. Like something's going to happen in Chicago and I am screwed. So yeah.
And sure enough, something did, but you made it. You made it. That's good. That's the important thing.
Back in the Omaha, Lincoln, like I was just out here 2 months ago. I for the College World Series and, back, now in Lincoln. So it's good, man. We got a fun game tomorrow night. We got fun games, starting tomorrow at
all day
Eastern time. Yeah, it's going to be great. So look forward to it.
It's going to be a fun day. It's going to be a fun day. Well, tomorrow night you get to see the Deion show. And I joked about it this week on the podcast. No matter who Colorado is playing, it's a chance for that team, that school, that player, whoever to stand out because, like it or not, Colorado rates. Right. There's no doubt. They also don't block very well. They also don't play defense very well. So I guess first things first, how do you expect this offense to work against a really good Nebraska defense, knowing that more or less it's just Shedeur, Travis Hunter, and Horn, and that's it?
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, are you going to be able to contain the Nebraska defensive line? Like, how much time is Shedeur going to have to find Jimmy Horn or Travis Hunter down the field? Like to me, like that's the thing that's the biggest thing that stands out because they didn't run the football last week. So
they didn't even try at some point. Like they just gave up trying in the second half.
You think you're going to run the football on Nebraska? Like, I mean, come on. So Shedeur is going to get his. I think there's going to be times where, they can't guard everybody. You're going to try double team Travis in secondary. Okay. Then Jimmy Horn will be open and whatnot and others. So, I mean, I do think there's an opportunity for Colorado to score points. This thing could go back and forth for a little bit until maybe Nebraska defense kind of settles down. I say that because I don't trust Colorado's defense. And that's the biggest thing.
All.
Right. Like Dylan Raiola, my man could come out here and throw for 300 tomorrow night. More than that, if they do it that way, because I think Nebraska is going to try to ground and pound for a while and then maybe try to air it out. So, yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how Colorado can keep up on the defensive front because Nebraska is going to bring the heat. So, it should be – I think it'll be an entertaining game. I wrote about this in our prediction piece. Like, I think this is an entertaining game going into the fourth quarter. And then that's where I could see Nebraska potentially scoring one or two and maybe getting away. We'll see.
You mentioned Dylan Raiola, and on yesterday's show, I talked a little bit about how big this is for him because he absolutely lit it up against UTEP. And obviously everybody knows, not everybody, a lot of people know about his recruiting story and, maybe going to Georgia and then being a Nebraska legacy. And he ended up in Nebraska, the biggest recruit in a couple generations there at Nebraska. I said this, that he has a chance to light it up, be college football's darling, and actually insert himself into the early season Heisman Trophy race. We like to call it the Geno Smith Heisman back when Geno Smith was at West Virginia, because they're going to win games, man. Their schedule beyond this is cake. So what do you expect to see from Dylan Raiola, and specifically what Matt Rhule is going to ask him to do?
I think the biggest thing is him getting out in space as well, because I think Colorado is going to try to force him out of the pocket. And if that's the case, okay, how are you making your throws on the run? Also, he's a good runner, by the way. So you got to contain him that way as well. So, I mean, I think this is an opportunity for Dylan to come out in prime time on NBC and to have a statement game, like you were talking about, the Geno Smith Heisman Trophy race. But at the same time, I think Matt Rhule understands that the way to beat Colorado is just throw the ball wherever Travis Hunter's not and have time. So this could be one of those games for Dylan where I think he's going to be situated just fine with his offensive line, and I think the running back situation is going to help him. And I think that this gives him an opportunity to, like I said, there'll be times where he's sitting in the pocket. There'll be times where he's outside the pocket. But it could just tear up that Colorado linebacking core and the defensive line. So, again, this could be one of those times where, in one of those outings where Dylan Raiola is just so laser focused. And I think the environment is going to help tomorrow night. I think that, when you're playing in front of 85,000 of your own fans, life comes a lot easier. And also, this is not the same Nebraska team as we saw in Boulder last season. I think defensively they're better. Offensively, they're certainly better. So my biggest thing is, okay, is this going to be a Shedeur versus, Dylan Raiola kind of back and forth? I don't think it's going to get that way. I think that both of them are probably going to make a mistake or two here in the first half. And then things are going to calm down in the second half. And that's where I think, if Nebraska wants to, they can try to, take care of that Colorado defensive line and get the ball down the field. I just, I think it's the same way we look at, we're probably going to talk about it for a minute, the same way we look at the Nico game Saturday night.
Yeah.
Where it could be like Nico's coming out party on ABC. I think this could be Dylan's coming out party because we already hear about Shedeur enough. I think for Dylan Raiola, this is folks' chance to really get their first good look at him.
And the best way to beat Shedeur Sanders is to keep him over there or over there, whichever way the sideline is. Yeah. North sideline, south sideline, whichever one they're on. Keep him over there, and that will certainly help. I know everyone talks about Deion, obviously. Matt Rhule is so damn good at this.
Yes.
He is such a good college football head coach.
Yes.
I think this is the day, this is the week that we sort of get reminded, hey, you know what? That dude took Baylor from the ashes and led him to the Sugar Bowl. The NFL didn't work.
Right. But
this dude can coach, and he can coach specifically at schools that are maybe down in the dumps and build them back. I think this is the week where people realize that he can still do that at an elite level.
Well, it's kind of like we talk about the quarterbacks and their statement games. Like, I don't want to call I caught myself a couple times this week saying, all right, this is like a signature win for like Matt Rhule. It's not a signature win.
It's not a signature win. It's an important win.
It's an important win. And I think it's a shot across the bow to college football folks that have maybe second-guessed Matt Rhule a little bit because of what happened in the NFL. The NFL is completely different. I take no stock in what happened in the NFL with Matt Rhule.
Yeah, Urban Meyer sucked at the NFL level. That's how different it is.
Yeah, Spurrier sucked. I mean, we could go back and forth.
Saban sucked. Although I think Saban gets a little bit of a bad rep. He was okay at Miami.
He was okay. Bobby Petrino. No, I'm not going to go there.
Let's not go. Like, why? Why are you being mean? Why?
I'm not going there. But look, I do think this is something where Matt Rhule, you get into a coaching battle, on the sidelines. It's those scenes out of Friday Night Lights, the shows where, Coach Taylor's on one side, someone's on the other, but the focus is on trying to outdo the other. I think that's where kind of like Matt Rhule is in this one. And they nice throwback to Friday Night Lights, fantastic show. I think Matt Rhule is going to there's going to be certain situations on Saturday night where he is going to have to outcoach Deion Sanders and figure out, okay, are we going to gamble here? We're going to get after the quarterback. What are we going to do here? Let's figure out something that he's not expecting. And I think you're going to see that because, and that's nothing against Deion Sanders at all. I just think Matt Rhule is such a good football coach that, he's working with something here.
Yeah, I mean, well, when it comes to Matt Rhule versus Deion Sanders, that's like 3D chess versus
Right.
I don't even know what kind of checkers, the easy
Exactly.
kind, whatever the easy kind is.
And by the way, too, Nebraska has got a fantastic crew of assistant coaches and staff members. So only going to help. Only going to help.
So let's switch gears. You mentioned Nico Imaliava. I'm going to talk about Tennessee. Talked about Tennessee, I should say, in the pick segment. Aside from the game itself, what do you're there in Rocky Top country, not now presently, but what's the buzz around there, and what do you think like the ceiling is for this kid this year? I think moving forward, the ceiling is Heisman Trophy. Like he is that good. But what is it this year, not only for him, but for Tennessee?
I think it's more or less the expectations are high for the future, but don't get too crazy this year. Like there's an opportunity next year that we could be talking about Nico for the Heisman. And God, look, anything can happen. 5 weeks from now, Tennessee could, whatever, win this game, beat Florida, beat
Geno Smith Heisman again.
Right, exactly. Beat Oklahoma and Norman, and we're having a different conversation. But expectations are high for what the future holds for Tennessee football at the quarterback position. Let's not try to go absolutely crazy. I think that's the mindset around the football program and talking with folks in the administration. It's like, okay, we know what we have here, but we know at times he's going to make mistakes. He's going to look like a redshirt freshman. And they're going to have to rely on that defense, which, by the way, is a hell of a lot better. And I think that's one thing that Nico has that, let's just say, like Joe Milton didn't have, or even Hendon Hooker did not have in his final season at Tennessee, was a defense. I think, to me, with the defensive line, it's going to help him out even more, get him out of some jams if he makes mistakes. But expectations-wise, yes, man, this kid is good. This kid knows the offense. This kid can throw the football. He can hit dimes down the sideline, across the middle. He can read defenses. Like, he's everything that you expect from a 5-star quarterback, allegedly making a lot of money. But at the same time, there's a reason why Josh Heupel has tried to temper expectations a little bit, because you don't want to get ahead of yourself in this. But I do think that Saturday night presents a perfect opportunity for folks to see, okay, damn, this is what it could be at Tennessee. Like you're not, I don't want to say torching the NC State secondary, but the pace that they're going to go at offense, I think this is going to be even a quicker pace than what you saw with Hendon Hooker. And damn, that was fast. But I think, Barrett, overall, the biggest thing that stood out to me, somebody told me the other day, was Nico didn't even need to look over or listen to the helmet communication from the head coach or the offensive coordinator, because he already knew what was coming up next in the offense.
Yeah.
So he's got this down. And I think that's the biggest thing, too, is him being able to understand what Heupel wants and what they have. And it doesn't hurt, Barrett. They got like 7 wide receivers on this squad that could be playing at any other school in the country.
There's no doubt. Well, Trey, enjoy Lincoln, Nebraska. Get some good food. Enjoy the game tomorrow. All eyes will be on it, because all eyes are on Deion all the time. Have fun out there.
Yeah, I think it helps that, it's Tennessee, NC State in prime time, Deion and Matt Rhule in prime time, same time. So, people can have 2 games on at one time. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Follow all the coverage at Outkick.com. And, man, look forward to nailing it down tomorrow. So appreciate you having me.
The show brought to you by Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes great for getting seats for your favorite live events. Gametime Picks filters through all the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And get curated deals. Make it easier to find the best price on great seats. The super deal is available in seats. You can view them before you buy. Lowest price guaranteed, even event cancellation policy. So if you got to go out of town, you lose a job, whatever, Gametime has you covered. Take the guesswork out of buying seats with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, go to Gametime, download the app, use Locked On College. What time is it? It's game time. All right, it's time for headlines. You want headlines? You know you love headlines. We are going to talk about the future headlines that will be around on Sunday in the world of college football, maybe Monday. If you don't get the Sunday paper or you're focused on something else on Sunday, you'll hear them Monday. First things first, hooked 'em. Hooked 'em. It's going to be the first headline. And of course, it's going to be Texas's double-digit win over Michigan in the Big House. Texas will make a statement. Michigan will not. You will see flaws exposed, specifically on offense, by Texas. And we're not talking about the Texas offense. We're going to talk about the Texas defense. Like I said earlier in the show, yes, Michigan is going to have a few shots that are hit. But for the most part, you're going to see a Texas team that is complete. Is complete. And I'm making the complete side with my hands if you're not watching. Hooked 'em is the first one. Second one is husked. Husked. That's what is going to happen to the Colorado Buffaloes. Nebraska, which is a pretty significant favorite, is going to make it hurt. They're going to make it hurt. They're going to make Shedeur Sanders run all over the place. And look, Shedeur is a great quarterback. I know he's polarizing, but he's a great quarterback. He's got Travis Hunter, who obviously is a great player. But this team is not ready to slow down Dylan Raiola and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Not ready. Flat out not ready. Nebraska's defense is going to be all over Colorado. Sanders is going to make a couple of mistakes, and they will be husked. Husked. I'm not a headline writer. Somebody might do that, though. It's a good one. It's not bad. Last one. All the lag way. Not all the way, all the lag way, because DJ Lagway will show that he is the starting quarterback of the future for the Florida Gators. Now, I know it's Samford. I get it. It's Samford or whatever. Florida needs something to be excited about. And generally, you don't lose a job by injury, but I think Graham Mertz in this case will lose a job by injury for a couple reasons. One, DJ Lagway is a superstar waiting to happen. He is a guy who can, I think, lead teams to national championships wherever he is. But also, Billy Napier needs to sell himself. He needs to sell his vision of the future of the Florida Gators. And that, to me, is why DJ Lagway, after this domination of Samford, will go into the rest of the season, talk about A&M, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Tennessee, all those games before the cocktail party. And Napier's just going to say, dude, go do your thing. Dude, go do your thing. So all the Lagway. That'll do it for this edition of College Football Smothered and Covered. Powered by the Locked On Network. Appreciate you guys checking out the show. Hey, for your second listen, go check out Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin. Does a great job covering the entire world of college football. You can catch the link in the description below. I'm pointing below if you're listening. Below, one finger down, below. It's part of the Locked On College Football Podcast Network. Your team, every day there will be a late night wrap-up show Saturday night, so make sure you set up your notification bells for that one. Until then, have a great Friday afternoon. Have a great Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. We'll talk to you on Saturday night.